Welcome to our first online Bible study based at the First Presbyterian Church of Allentown, Pennsylvania. We are beginning a segment on the Genesis character of Joseph, the favorite son of Jacob, also known and renamed by God as Israel, the patriarch and father of the Jewish people. This presentation is part 1A. This will be a multiple-part study beginning with a 3-week session on a study of Joseph's dreams, focusing on Genesis 37 through 41. We'll also look at a side story about Joseph's brother Judah, based on Genesis 38. The story or saga about Joseph is longer than any other character in the book of Genesis. There it tells us that Joseph was born in Mesopotamia in the town of Haran to his parents Jacob and Rachel. And at the age of 6, he left there, journeying to the land of Canaan, eventually settling in Hebron. We need to keep in front of us the purpose of these stories about the sons of Jacob, and that is the passing along of the covenant. Jacob has 11 sons at this point in the story. Benjamin will make 12 total. The question the readers need to keep in the back of their minds is which of these sons will lead the people of Israel, the extended family of Jacob, and keep the covenant of God. C.T. Francisco, in the Teacher's Bible Commentary, tells us that the custom of naming a child came from the ancient world's belief that a name expressed the basic character of the person. Sometimes the name expressed what they believed was the purpose or reason for the birth of the child. And finally, names given the children may have expressed the condition under which they were born. All of this may apply to Joseph. Rachel had been trying to conceive a child for many years as the beloved wife of Jacob. And when Joseph was finally born, God answered his mother's prayer. Rachel exclaimed, "God has taken away my reproach." And she named him Joseph, saying, "May the Lord add to me another son." Notice, Rachel named her son Joseph, which means to increase, or may he add. His name was a prayer that she might bear yet another son. Notice, she didn't even pause for a moment to give thanks for the one she gave birth to. This next slide is a summary of all the chapters in Genesis from 37 to 50, and I found it on biblesummary.info/Genesis. Check the site out for more information. What do we know from archaeology, and why is archaeology important? Archaeology doesn't necessarily prove the Bible to be true, but it does help us understand the times in which the accounts may have been written or written about. In the book, The Survey of Israel's History, Leon Wood summarizes some of the details in the Genesis account that are supported by recent archaeology. There are several details in this story of Joseph which corroborates with contemporary Egyptian practices and customs. These illustrate points of historical accuracy within the biblical record. Among the points listed on the screen in view are the citation of the titles, customs surrounding the celebration of Pharaoh's birthday, Pharaoh's authority signified in rings, clothing, and other jewelry, and shaving customs used in Egypt. Take a moment to review the details below. We know for a fact from archaeological evidence that the rulers of Egypt were indeed called pharaohs, and they wore royal rings, which were their seals. This slide shows a picture of Ramses II seal ring. Various members of the ruling house and its administration wore those seals when they stamped documents in the name of the ruling pharaoh. The inscriptions on the seal rings attested to the divinity of Pharaoh by claiming that he was a son of a particular god. So, for example, Ramses means the son of the sun god Ra. Egyptian pharaohs celebrated themselves as sons of a god. Joseph would have celebrated himself a son of Jacob, who is chosen by the one true God. You would then have only one formula available to you on Joseph's ring, Yaakov Bahar, or a short spelling of it, Yacoba Bahar. Professor Bytack on an archaeological crew has recently found 9 rings with this name of Jacob, YKBHR, on them. The Times of Israel blog has claimed that they were probably worn by Joseph and his court officials, and that there's a perfect synchronicity between the biblical text and Egyptian archaeology. They declare that Joseph's royal ring has been found in a 37-year-old archaeological haystack in Avaris. Before we get into the famous Bible story about Joseph's coat of many colors, I want us to spend a moment to reflect on clothing. Clothing is something very personal. If we're lucky, we get to choose what we wear each day. For self-expression, for safety, for comfort, for uniforms, as part of a sports team's participation, or for the task or activity at hand. Think of a memorable item of clothing that was given to you by someone special in your life. Write down what that item was, how old you were when you received it, and why it was so special. And then sometime today, or even now, put me on pause. Please call or email 1 or 2 persons in our group, or reach out to other friends or family and have a short discussion using the questions on the screen as a guideline. This slide contains the passage from Genesis 37, verses 1 through 11 from the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. Please pause the presentation and read it, or find it in your personal Bible. You can pause the presentation now. All right, what do you think of the character Joseph? Do we like him? Are we sorry for him? Do we dislike him? Why? What's your evidence from the text to support your opinion? Pause this presentation to write down your opinions now and why you think what you think. Leon Kass, in his amazing book, The Beginning of Wisdom, introduces us to Joseph like this. Joseph first comes to us as a shepherd, a tattletale, a lad favored by his father and hated by his brothers, and a dreamer who tells dreams to those who hate him. Later, we shall learn that he was beautiful like his mother. Well, that's an opinion. Is it any wonder there's a problem among the brothers? We're going to continue in 3 sections: bad reports, the coat, and the dreams. Is Joseph set up for failure, or is it a personality flaw? For what purpose did Jacob send out Joseph to his brothers? Who was Joseph supposed to shepherd, the sheep or his brothers? Was Joseph set up for failure, or was it his personality that got him into trouble with his brothers? Leon Kass relates, but whomever he is pasturing, Joseph is keeping his eye on his brothers, bringing evil reports of them to their father. We can only speculate on the content of the evil reports and only guess at his motives. Joseph is, at best, a spy, reporting on request to his father about the deeds of the brothers he was shepherding. Later, Joseph will be the victim of evil reports spread by Potiphar's wife, reports we know to be false. We must wonder from the start about Joseph's truthfulness and justice. Joseph later will prove to be the victim of false reports. Does this mean he was learning his lesson about an earlier time when he spread false reports? The texts say that the brothers had 2 reactions. 1, they hated him, and they hated him more. And the Hebrew word used is soneh, which means to be hate or be hateful. And the second reaction was they could not speak peaceably with him. The Hebrew word here is shalom, meaning completeness, soundness, welfare, and peace. They found it impossible to speak to him in peace or completeness or truth, and with concern for his welfare. To put it bluntly, there were problems in the family of Jacob. The coat. We know now from the painted tombs of the Beni Hassan in Egypt that in the patriarchal age, Semitic chiefs wore coats of many colors as an insignia of rulership. Jacob, in giving him a coat of many colors, marked Joseph for the chieftainship of the tribes at his death. Bruce Caden shares a detail in his talk on the unmaking of Joseph. It's obviously a special garment, as the term is only used one other time in Scripture, referring to the garment worn by King David's daughter Tamar, likely indicating her royal status. The key to this situation, however, is as Leon Kass explains. Joseph is the son who Jacob believes will best take care of the problem of succession that arises because of Jacob's old age. The elegant ornamented tunic that Jacob provides Joseph is not just a decorative gift to his favorite, it's the garb of rule. It's the sign of Joseph's elevation. Jacob anoints Joseph as his heir apparent, and he does so relatively early in Joseph's life, probably before he and his brothers can handle it. Men resist being ruled by one of their own, and they react angrily when one of their own makes a claim to leadership. Before they can accept him, a leader of equals must prove himself to them and gain their voluntary assent to his ascendancy. Jacob should have known that once he elevated Joseph over his brothers, they would not easily live with him in peace. The robe and its implications definitely made family matters worse. But for now, let's get back to Joseph's dreams. The brothers, and I would venture to say most people who read this, did not notice the oddest feature of the dreams, and that is the dominant image of wheat sheaves. What kind of shepherd dreams of sheaves of wheat? Leon Kass explains that the imagery of the grain belongs to another place, to a more fertile place where one man does indeed command obedience from all around, namely to Egypt. Joseph's dream is foreign, and not only to his brother's tastes. In addition, Kass points out, Jacob publicly rebukes Joseph in front of his brothers for dreaming such an arrogant dream, and Jacob expresses his own disbelief at its content. The careful reader, however, notices two additional things. First, what Jacob said, he said for public consumption. Privately, however, he appears to give the dream some credence. Secondly, it is Jacob, not Joseph, who gives Joseph's second dream a familial interpretation. Joseph never applies the meaning of it to his family. Kass encourages us to go deeper in looking at Joseph's dream. This dream, if taken literally rather than figuratively, is more ambitious still. It is a dream of cosmic mastery, of human rule over the heavenly bodies. In Joseph's dream, what happens does not declare the glory of God, but instead bows to the superiority of Joseph, the exemplary human being. As we shall see, this vision of cosmic mastery is part of the meaning of Egypt, the place where men, through technology, magic, and administration, try to force nature to her knees. Joseph, from his youth, has Egyptian dreams. Joseph is dreaming something totally out of his experiential context. He knows nothing of grain and cosmic understanding. He's either deluded with lofty visions of grandeur or possibly, as a young man, frightened out of his wits. The text does not help us solve this riddle. I'd like you to now continue on to part 1B of the presentation as directed in your email so we can continue this. Thank you.